But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
You did. A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
That's right, Brett Walsh. Welcome back, boys and girls, to the 81 square meters of the best volleyball coverage on the internet. This is the 9x9, episode 143. It is Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. My name's Rob St. Clair, live from Chicago. That is Everett Delorme, live from Toronto, north of the border. Everett, I'm back. I'm back from Hawaii. I haven't done a show in this particular seat in a while, but thank you. It's good to be back. Hawaii was incredible. I even got to watch a little bit of volleyball in person while I was there. I played exactly one set of beach volleyball, and that was not a very good time. And I lost 22-20 and thought, like, I probably can't do any better than that. So that was it for the trip. But yeah, we're back. We're back, and there's a lot of volleyball to talk about. That's for sure. How was the last couple weeks for you? What sort of stuff did you get into?
Volleyball.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What kind of stuff do I get into? Like, are you acting like I'm, do I have like an exciting life and I like travel the world and stuff right now? No, like I've been sitting my ass at home. I've been watching a shit ton of volleyball. And yeah, like honestly at this point, like almost a little too much volleyball. Like I need a little bit of like a pullback and like a respite and like a little bit of a break. Because it's only like early February, and there's a lot of potential stuff on this year. So
yes, there is. But I felt the same thing. And then I went away for a little over a week, and it felt amazing to detach from real work and from watching volleyball a little bit. I went to Stanford, Hawaii, but then I came back and like on Friday night, I was like legitimately excited to watch like Long Beach UCLA men's NCAA. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm ready to get back into some volley. So here we are. And speaking of volley over the weekend, Sunday was not just for the Super Bowl.
I hate how you call it volley.
Volley.
Let's just watch some ball. Like that, doesn't that sound way better?
It does sound better, but there's a lot of ball to be watched. I mean, the Super Bowl was on Sunday. Like there's ball of many kinds.
In the context of,
of this here show.
If Pat McAfee's like, hey, let's watch some ball, we know it's football.
Pat McAfee, noted volleyball guy, by the way.
He is. He's been talking about the Indiana Ignite.
That's right. We'll get to the PVF later on the show. Anyway, ball happened this weekend. I called it 2 weeks ago, Everett. It's not surprising to anyone, but it is still remarkable and impressive and important to discuss the legacy implications of the fact that Imoco Conegliano has won their 6th Coppa Italia in a row. Their 7th overall, which is now officially the most all-time. They have won every single one of these dating back to 2019, including the one right before the pandemic hit. This is the best franchise in our sport. They are a complete wagon. They have yet to lose a match this season. And they did this in briefly entertaining fashion in the final, a 3-0 over Milonza. Set number one was legitimately fun. And then
set number one was the highest scoring set in the women's Coppa Italia finals of all time.
37-35.
It was good. And that was, like
kind of it.
that was kind of it. Like when you talk about the legacy that this team has built and like winning 6 in a row is something that in any sport you only see in like the early days, right? Like it's the early days, it's the teams, from like our grandparents' time that go on these kind of runs because the quality just wasn't there across the board. So for Conegliano to do this at this day and age with how many different team configurations, of course you have like a certain like Moki and Voloja have been there,
and Santarelli.
Yeah, all those people have been there the entire time. But like you've moved around with different opposites and different go-to players and stuff like that, and it doesn't matter. Like there's no change. in the results. I think that there's no way to debate it that Conegliano is the best club in volleyball, right? Men's, women's, it doesn't matter. Like, they are the pinnacle of volleyball, and they're the cream of the crop. Furthermore, Rob, they did it with arguably one of the most impressive teams of all time, and maybe one of the most stacked teams of all time, right? Especially that left side core. When you look at Zhu, who is maybe a little bit over the hill, but she didn't look a minute of it over the course this weekend. She was unreal.
Most of the season, really.
Yeah, this season she's been ridiculous. You've got Gabi, who, you know, rightfully so, is known as Miss Everything.
I'm into that. I like that Volleyball World social media.
That's all Sid, baby.
All Sid. Well done by Sid, our Brazilian guy. Perfect nickname. She really is Miss Everything, and another one for her trophy case. You're right.
But then
the team construction is ridiculous.
There's one thing I do want to like wrap that up. When you look at like Gabi and Zhu is an all-time left side pairing. Like, you know, like that's honestly, the Gabi and Zhu playing together is a little bit like LeBron and Luka playing together. And I don't think that's a stretch. I really don't think that's the stretch, you know, like, and then on top of that, when you look at who they have coming off the bench in Kalia Lanier and Martina Lukashik, that is the next generation, right? Those are two players that I guarantee you're like, we're most likely going to see starting for the respective countries in 2028, right? So this is just the best team of all time in terms of the club level. And I would love to play the game of how they would match up against national teams. That's how good.
That's a fun game to play. Some club seasons, when you have a team that's this good, it is a fascinating one. What's unquestionable is that this is the best franchise in all of volleyball. And the thing that's most impressive about it to me is to do that 6 in a row span of dominance in the Coppa Italia tournament in particular, because it's one bad match and you're done. One bad match in 6 years in this competition, and this doesn't happen. It's not the playoffs where you're playing best of 5 match series. Like how we see great teams, great franchises on the men's side all the time. None of them can win the Coppa Italia, their domestic cup, multiple years in a row. Italy, Poland, Türkiye, whatever. Germany, other than Berlin, that playing field is not level. Like, winning this particular event where the sample size is 1, the degree of flexibility or the degree of freedom for failure is none. You have one bad match and you're out of the event, and to win 6 of those in a row is truly unbelievable. And it speaks to franchise top to bottom, perfectly built, strong foundation, dominance, culture, systems, talent evaluation, coaching, the whole thing. It's incredible. It is so hard to do what this program has done, and it deserves all the respect in the world.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, there's really not even that much to say about it, right? Like,
there kind of isn't.
Like, it's just utter domination.
It's ridiculous. Yeah,
it is now the most Coppa Italias of all time of any women's club. The most straight of all time. I mean, when they won their 5th title, it was the fastest to 5 titles, and now we're on to 7, right? Like, this has just been unreal, right? Yeah, since they've first gone to the finals, they haven't not gone.
That is just as crazy.
Yeah.
What was it? 2017 was the first
2017
one.
2017 was the first one. Yeah, exactly. They've won 7 of 9 years. It's just been absolutely ridiculous.
That's nuts. And it's not like this is like some meaningless mid-season tournament. Like, the Coppa Italia has juice. Like, we've talked about it many times, men's and women's side. Like, this is probably the most domestic eyeballs a club volleyball match will get in Italy, like one single match. Like, some of these people will stick around and watch the league playoffs and watch those long series, but like, as far as one featured match goes, like, this is kind of it within Italy. And they did an awesome job in Bologna with this production. Our guy Tommy Blizzard was there because he lives in Bologna. Yep. He told us that he got to go to all 4 matches, and this is the 2 semifinals on Saturday, then the A2 division final, and then the A1 division Coppa Italia final. Those 4 matches cost him €100 total. Like, that value for that level of entertainment is ridiculous. ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And Tommy said it was an awesome time. He had great seats. He posted a bunch of selfies in the Discord to him with a bunch of players like he always does. So go give that a look. But I'm always like fascinated by and impressed with the Coppa Italia event, because like until the NBA pulled this like midseason cup thing a year or two ago, we've never done anything like this in American sports. And it's just cool to see. Like, you could argue, if you're like from an American perspective, that this is a midseason tournament and it doesn't mean anything. But like, if you watch the game and you look at the emotions of the players and like the reactions of the franchises that win it, like it clearly does mean something. And like within Italy, it does mean something. So I'm here for it. I like the midseason cup tournaments.
Yeah, me too. I really do. Like, I think, John Spra, if you're listening, real quick, if you introduced a USA Volleyball Cup right now, and you're just like, hey, guess what? This is an in-season tournament. We're just going to go up to grabs. You, as USA Volleyball, you reach out to both entities and like, let's see how we're going to work with both of you, and you get some PVF against League One. Imagine that. Right? Maybe you do a home and home, because I know that there's some differences in terms of some of the rules. So maybe you do a home and home. It's like the AL and the NL, where you do like their rules and like, you know, one league rules and another league's rules.
The ball is different. The rules are different. Yeah.
How cool would it be?
It'd be pretty cool.
Right? Like, that's like Spra. You know, I was honestly thinking about it the other night, and I was like, should I just text him?
We are overdue for another interview with our friend John Spera. I was chatting with him before I went to Hawaii, so we'll make that happen. But congratulations to Conegliano. I think we should talk about like a couple of the matches. The final, there's not that much to say. I thought the first set, 37-35, really fun. Milonza had how many set points? Like 5, 6 at least. They missed at least 3 serves after point 25, which is bad. And then the point that ended up winning the set for Conegliano was actually pretty electric. Like, it was really good defensive effort by both teams, and Gabi ended up putting it away. Plus a really clutch ace by Isabel Haag. Like, her only ace of the match came in overtime in the first. So that was legitimately dramatic. And then it looked like Conegliano enforcing their will and controlling the rest of the game. I mean, the last 2 sets were both 20. Yeah, both 20. Yeah. So it was better than the last time we saw, or one of the last times we saw Milonza and Conegliano play on that big stage with like 11,000 people earlier in the year, and it was just like a complete clapping hour and a shower. This was better than that as far as Milonza's performance is concerned, but it still like lends to what I've kind of been saying for a while, that there is a mental block in addition to the talent and physical block with the other good teams in Italy against Conegliano. Like, there's just such a huge barrier there. It takes so much more to actually beat this team.
Once again, it's the collectiveness of how they operate, not only the quality that they have at every single position, but the way that they execute, right? They have the ability to execute at such a high level. And even when you knock them off their game, they have that ability to recenter, right? They're so mentally strong. Like, they're physically strong, they're technically strong, they're tactically strong, but more importantly, they're mentally strong. And I think that's the separation that allows them to, and to me, that's the Santarelli effect, and that's the club in itself, right? Yeah. When you play for a perfect organization, and I'm not saying they're perfect, and no one's perfect.
Pretty damn close.
Volleyball, but like, you know, when you play for an organization that clearly cares for you and cares about you and supports you, I think it goes a long way. And I think that shows that.
And a lot of the time it's the difference in an overtime after point 30. Like that is when it shows up the most, and when you can kind of feel it the most.
Yeah, for sure. You just feeling the most comfortable.
Excellent point in the chat that these two teams do play again tomorrow. Midweek LVF action, which is fun.
Sure, whatever. Yeah. Another version of this. I mean, we're going to see it so many more times this year. If Milano, like, I think honestly we should just change the bet to seeing if Milano is going to beat them. Like, it's not even going to be like, can Conegliano win the league? It's can anyone win a match against them?
I think the question is, who do they play in the final? And that would be, in all likelihood, the winner of these two teams here. Scandicci and Milonza played a very fun match in the semis. 3-2. Milonza wins. Ekaterina Antropova did all she could. Scandicci, I was looking at it earlier. I didn't watch this game because I was traveling, but Scandicci had to make some major changes after 2 sets, and it actually kind of worked. I mean, Lindsay Ruddens, the American, came off the bench for I still don't understand what we're doing putting Camila Mingardi out there on the left side. She's a complete reception liability. Anna Karolina got benched because of foreigner issues. Like, they made a bunch of changes, did Gaspari and Scandicci, and it almost worked. And Antropova dropped 30 on 26 for 57 attacking, 3 blocks and an ace. Wasn't quite enough. Egonu 30 of her own, 14 for Sila, 11 for Denesi in the middle. And I think it was the 5th set where Denesi had like 9 points or something ridiculous. She completely dominated the 5th set from the middle blocker position. It was 8 points. Sorry, 8 points for Denesi in the 5th, 7 for 7 attacking and a block. It's insane.
That's gross. That is gross. Scoring over 50% of your team's points in the 5th set
As a middle.
Woo!
Gross.
Woo! That's like an all-time performance there.
Yeah. That was awesome. That was legitimately awesome. All for naught. They then go on and get donged the next afternoon, morning our time. But this was fun, and I mean, this will probably be the league semifinal series, the 2 versus the 3 in some order. So get ready for that. That's been fun the last couple of years.
Exactly. I don't think we need to touch on the other semifinal at all.
No.
Yeah.
Dongs.
Dong,
Dongs
dong,
everywhere.
dong.
Any other thoughts about
We
the
need-
Coppa Italia, like the event, like at the macro level, the production, whatever?
No, I mean, like, once again, it's especially with this like women's volleyball in Italy is the Olympic champs, right? There's a lot of eyes on them. They're selling a lot of tickets for these matches, and yeah, that's great. You absolutely love to see it. So no, it was seemed to be good all around.
Speaking of dongs, Everett,
Dongs.
we got to stick
We
in the
need like a dong sound.
Dong.
I think we like, yeah, like how funny would it be? Like, this is where if we add an actual producer, like every time you go into a slide with the dong, there's just like a dong, 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 dong.
Awesome idea, especially like because you can't really say 3 dong in like a professional context, but you can say like, Everett, do you hear that in the distance? You hear the bells ringing? Do you hear the sound that they're making?
Yeah,
kind of allude to it. Somebody help us out
Yeah.
with that. Give us a bell sound effect. Speaking of
because
dong,
and then now people real quick will in perpetuity think that the dongs mean like bells to ring the end of a set, but OGs will know. Real ones will know what a 3 dong means.
just got 3 donged by a team that lost to Denmark. Shout out Türkiye and China. All right, speaking of dongs, a very unexpected dong in the Lega Volley Femminile. I did not watch this game. It was while I was in Hawaii, but I was very surprised to see the score that Vallefoglia donged Scandicci. Yeah, like last weekend? Huh? What happened here?
Vallefoglia has like a pretty good offense.
Yeah,
like,
they do.
Beach over there, and then Simone Lee has been really, really good. Simone Lee was actually the MVP in this one. So
yeah, American
Vallefoglia,
14 for 27, 2 errors only. Really good.
they played today against
They lost to Chieri in 5 today. So good match.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, no, I honestly I've watched a little bit of like Gaia Giovannini there. As I said, Simone Lee, Biucci on the side. It's just splitting that they have really high flying offense. It's really high power. They score a lot of points, and then when they get hot, they can kind of be a little bit overpowering.
Yeah, and it worked out in this game. I think the biggest thing is that they completely shut down Ekaterina Antropova, which playing against Scandicci is obviously the game plan. Antropova 6 for 25 attacking with 9 errors. 2 blocks, 2 aces, but that's like by far her worst attacking performance this season. And she very well may and probably deserves to be the MVP of the Lega Volley Femminile. So Vallefoglia shut her down. And when that happens, if you hold a player like that to negative efficiency, great chance for an upset. So good for Vallefoglia.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Taking a look at the Lega Volley Femminile standings before we move on. There's one other match that I saw pop up, which was Roma beating Firenze in 4. So 3 points for Roma, and that moved them out of relegation position ahead of Firenze, 16 points to 15. So looks like a 4-team relegation race for 2 spots in the Lega Volley Femminile, but it also looks like the 8 playoff teams are very much separated from the rest. So like Pinerolo and Cuneo are like kind of the the limbo middle irrelevant teams for it looks like the rest of the season. I mean, Cuneo could maybe drop down really far, but Perugia, Roma, Firenze, and Tall Masons looks like 2 of those 4 are going to get relegated.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see. Good win there by Roma. Okay.
Yep. So we're gonna hit Italy men's next, but before we do that, there was some coaching news that I think like can kind of tie in to the SuperLega, because a major SuperLega head coach is kind of involved in some of these news. This is national team coaching news on the men's side. Everett. Thing number 1, Gheorghe Crețu has not renewed his contract as the head coach of Slovenia after taking them to the Olympic Games last summer. He did not renew his contract, and instead he signed a new contract as the head coach of the Serbian men. So bye-bye Igor Kolakovic. So Crețu switches Balkan countries. Your thoughts on this move?
It's an interesting move for me. Because if you ask me, you've got 2 Balkan countries going in opposite directions.
Yeah.
And even though Serbia did make that last-ditch effort to make the Olympics this year, when you look like what's coming up in Serbia, and maybe I'm wrong, like maybe I just don't know, but especially when you look at, like, you have a bona fide, you're welcome, all-star talent in the Rock Mosic.
You have a lot of all-star talent on Slovenia.
Like, you have a lot of all-star talent. Sure, it's aging a little bit, but you also have that next generation, right? When you look at that next generations for Serbia in terms of like Peric and Kujundžić, I don't know if it's there quite at the same level, right? Like, so I'm assuming that the Serbian Federation might be paying a little bit more than the Slovenian Federation. And ultimately, I think this might be a good thing. I think Crețu has shown that he's been quality, especially if his past few assignments. I mean, we were all questioning when Slovenia canned Lebedev in the middle of a summer, in between, right? Like, that's what happened. They canned him in between VNL and world champs, and Crețu came in. And you can arguably say, without, the European success that we saw in the 2010s, that, with their world championships results and how they did at VNL last year in the Olympics, that like this has been some of the best times for Slovenia. So yeah, ultimately, like, I'm interested to see what he's going to be able to do with that Serbian program for sure.
Me too. The Serbian program the last couple of years has been a weird one. We've talked about it a lot. We don't have to go into it, but obviously they have great volleyball history. They breed good athletes. It's just like, what is the program really doing? Mm-hmm. What are the goals? What are the resources? What are the systems? So we'll see. Maybe we'll get an up close look this summer if we happen to be at some of the same events as the Serbian men. So with Crețu leaving Slovenia, that left a vacancy that is now filled, we know as of this week, by Fabio Soli. Relatively young as far as international head coaches. I think he's just 45. Took over for Trentino when Lorenzetti got poached by Perugia, and all he did last year is win a Champions League. So this is a guy who, at the very least, you could describe as up and coming and already has the club success. This will be his first experience at the international level, and he's been coaching Jan Kozamernik for club, so that has a little bit of a Slovenian link there. What we don't know is what exactly Soli's future is going to be coaching club. Is he still going to be able to coach club at all? Is he going to coach Trentino? Is he going to coach somewhere else?
I think I've seen rumors about Trentino like looking for a new coach. So I think he's going to be moving on.
I heard the same thing, but then I also heard that there was another Italian club that was going to try to pick him up if he becomes available. So I don't know if there's some like the exclusivity deal for the Slovenian Federation. Probably not, because Crețu is coaching club. So we'll keep an eye on Soli's club contract situation. But what do you think about it for the Slovenian national team?
I mean, my understanding of the Slovenian national team is that I think that they're a little bit like Canada, except that they have the benefit of being in Europe. And what I mean by that is that they don't necessarily have that much funding to go out and get themselves like a world-class coach on a regular basis. Now, it does work out for them once again. Like, Canada's big thing is that they're in North America and it's so far from everything, and you have to be. Whereas, like, if you're in Slovenia, you're that much closer, right? Like,
it literally borders Italy.
Literally borders Italy, right? So I think that this is a good move. Like, you're going to get a guy who has some really good club experience, has gone out and has proved that he can win at the highest of levels, and he's won a right? They won a Champions League.
Won a Champions
right?
League, yeah.
So he can go out, and they're probably going to get him a little bit cheaper than Crețu, and he's going to be a young guy who understands Mojits, understands Kozamurnik, understands these other guys. Like Masulovic. Is he Serbian or is he Slovenian?
Masulovic is Serbian. They've got a couple younger prospects. Like they've got Stalakar, that gigantic middle.
Yeah, Stalakar, you're right.
Played on Berlin. They've got Mujanovic, who was a backup on Monza last year.
That's who I was. Sorry, that's who I was thinking of. Yeah.
Similar Balkan names.
So yeah, I like this. Go with a younger coach that can kind of because like the majority of that starting lineup that we saw in Paris will not be there in LA. Like we
Probably
know that.
not, and
I doubt we'll even see them at the World Championships this summer, right? So
maybe not.
Okay, so actually that's probably a stretch. Like I'm sure some of those guys are going to play, but regardless, I do think that this is a good move for Slovenia.
Me too. I like Soli from the little that I've seen, and I'm curious to see how he does at the national team level. So on the subject of Soli, who coaches Trentino, let's talk about the SuperLega, Everett. We've missed 2 weeks since our last show, and there are only 3 weeks left in the regular season, which is crazy. Plus a couple of makeup games. I think Trentino and Lube both have makeup games all the way back from like the Club World Championship, but there's 3, maybe 4 games left for every team in the entire league, and that's it. So the standings right now up on the screen. The relegation race is legitimately spicy. The playoff race is a little bit less so, but imagine, Everett, the Cinderella story that could be possible, that is possible, if Grotazzolina were to make the playoffs. And I kind of want to start there as far as storylines go.
I think right now it has to be one of the best storylines in volleyball.
TGE.
Just in terms of what they've been able to do and the run that they've been able to make, all year we were touting him as the almost guaranteed relegated team. And now, they go back and they've really been on a tear as of late. 2 weeks ago, upsetting Milano in 5. This week, unfortunately, not as good against Perugia, but
took a set.
They took a set. But when you look at the rest of their schedule here, Rob, it is going to be a little interesting. First and foremost, the most important one this upcoming weekend against Cisterna.
Must win.
We see it, right? Must win. Absolute must win. Then it gets difficult. Piacenza next week, Lube the week after. Not ideal for the Grotazzolina experience. However, when we look at Cisterna, because that's going to be the race there, they've got Milano the weekend after their matchup with Grotazzolina, and then they have Monza.
Wow, this is going to be really interesting, man. I mean, Modena, who's 1 point ahead of Cisterna, is by no means locked necessarily. I mean, the win over Lube this weekend really helped to not only beat Lube, but to get 3 points. So that was big, but like every match that has those kind of implications is going to have big time magnifying glass on it. Cisterna Grotazzolina is enormous. Modena versus Padova this coming weekend is pretty enormous. I mean, Padova is 1 point or 2 points outside relegation zone. Modena is, trying to cling on to the playoffs. Like these matches are major. Plus, Padova has a match in hand. They have to play Lube in one of those makeup games. So does Cisterna. So Cisterna has 4 games left, whereas Grotazzolina only has 3. And this is going to get really, really interesting. Down at the bottom as well, you have Toronto 1 point ahead of Monza. And they just played, right? They played like 2 weeks ago.
Toronto and Monza.
Yeah, Toronto beat Monza in 5, but that was like 3 weeks ago. So we already talked about that. Monza did get a win over Padova for 3 points. That's enormous. Toronto got donged by Perugia. Then Toronto took a point from Cisterna in a 5-setter, and Monza got donged by Verona. So that's what puts you there with the 1 point gap. Monza sitting in relegation position right now. And like, man, I don't know. Monza has Trentino. That's an L. Perugia. That's an L. And then Cisterna, which is a must win.
Must win.
Toronto has Lube, Modena, and then Verona.
I really don't like how the end of the season is coming down with like the easy matches. right? Like how are you building your schedule here? Because like we had like
we don't attempt to understand what the boomers at the SuperLega do organizationally. We're not going to open that can of worms. But like this is like legitimately like must-watch stuff for every week coming down the stretch, because there's going to be playoff hopes made and dashed. There's going to be a team relegated that is going to barely miss out on sticking around. Like this is going to be pretty insane.
Yeah.
I like that. The top of the league, there's some fun stuff going on too.
Yeah, I mean, like LOVB was on a really nice run. They did suffer a 3-0 to Modena this weekend, which honestly like saved Modena quite a bit.
Yeah,
right? If LOVB had gotten 3 points out of that, Modena right now would be sitting with 19, behind Cisterna, and LOVB. I mean, they'd be that much closer to Trentino. I don't know if they could catch it. I do think that the top of the league there, Rob, is going to stay somewhat similar. Like, I don't think we're going to see much movement from Perugia, Trentino, LOVB, Piacenza.
I agree with that. I think Verona, Piacenza, Milano, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me put the standings back up.
Yeah.
4, 5, 6. I think there's a little bit of activity there. But LOVB, like having a match in hand, they get to play. Who is it? Cisterna, Padova in the makeup game. I think LOVB in third is pretty comfortable right now.
However, actually, I take that back. I think Verona could actually get that bump up into fourth, because Verona's schedule this upcoming weekend, they have Piacenza, right? So right there, if they can get a 3-0, they could even that up, and then they finish off with their last 2 matches of the year. Where was that? Just so Padova and Toronto. So Verona could end up 9 points ahead, right? They could end up here with 42 points.
Maybe, yeah. If they take 3 from Piacenza, I think that would be likely. So yeah, that could be really interesting. You mentioned that Modena 3-1 over LOVB. Very good match for Vlad Daviskiva to pop off. 16 points on 11 for 24, 3 blocks, 2 aces. Really good. Also, Paul Bucheger, 6 aces in that match, which is pretty gnarly. So just kind of a lackluster LOVB game, a little bit all the way around. Looks like Alex Nikolov played 2 different positions.
Yeah,
whatever. I'm not super concerned about it. LOVB's been really, really good. They're due for a down game here and there.
This one was a really good DeCecco game. That's kind of what it was. They were flowing on the other side. Then like Lagumgia had a really good first set and then cooled off after that. They tried to go for that 3 outside hitter situation that they've been going at recently. And honestly, I kind of think that's a little bit of the move for them. Like we saw LOVB make that run to the finals a few years ago with that. And I think it might be the move there. And like at this point, like does Alex Nikolov start considering just moving to the opposite full time?
I think on the club level, he should and probably will. And I have actually heard the Discord chatter about that very thing. So we will definitely keep an eye on that. One really good game that happened, this is round 19, so this is this past weekend, is Trentino reverse swept Piacenza. Piacenza had them, man. Piacenza had them on the ropes.
They really did. And it was a little bit of a tough game to watch. And like you could tell, like Piacenza had them on the ropes and Trentino pushed through on in that third set. Bartha is he's just an impact player, man. He just makes aces and he makes blocks at timely times. He's fantastic.
He did go 0 for 4 attacking with 2 errors, but yeah, 3 blocks, 3 aces. That's
exactly, he just finds ways to inject energy into what he does. He's like Glider. He's like Yuri Glider.
He does remind me of Yuri Glider. It's a good comparison. And when you're a middle blocker, sometimes you just have to do that. You have to. Like blocking and serving is the areas of the game that you have the most control over. You can't control when you get the ball. So on offense. So the thing that really let Piacenza down in this game was the opposite position. I mean, Bovalenta 5 for 24, 7 errors. Romano off the bench 3 for 4, 3 for 9, 4 errors. Both of them negative.
Honestly,
which sucks because Mar and Mandaraja are both awesome.
Yes, this is it. Like I thought Efe Mandaraja was fantastic. This dude is really coming into his own, and there's some people in the higher ups that I know are starting to notice that as well too. And Mar was steady Mar. Like that's like I'll say it that Mar's season hasn't been fantastic this year, and I think that's probably do part and parcel to playing for this Piacenza franchise, and kind of
effect.
and
he knew what he was getting into.
Yeah.
I mean, they went on a Cinderella run with Monza. He got a damn good contract for a club that has, how do I put this delicately, bad history of the whole being less than some of its parts, and a coach without a great track record. That's
so
very, very nice.
two things here, Rob, and like we should get going here because we're getting into just stupid stuff at this point. I will say two things. I would love, and I know this would never happen, but I would love to see the Italian Federation step in at a certain point and being like, we are not approving these transfers, because there's no way that right now it is good for either Bovalenta or Romano to be on the same team, right? Because neither of them have that ability to just be that guy. And now they don't have the ability to be that guy anytime over the year, because that scrutiny that the two of them are seeing from Piacenza is magnified right now, because they know with almost every play that they take that everyone is watching them, that Gheorghe is watching them to see who's going to start as the opposite this coming summer at the World Championships and at this stuff. It'd be a much better.
I actually disagree with this. I think this is a perfect setup because it's exactly how the national team is going to be. They're going to be the two opposites.
No, but you don't allow either of those guys to blossom throughout the year. Right. And that's the big problem for me, is that you're not letting either of these guys really spur their wings, because that innate competition between both of them. Right. As soon as one of them starts getting a little bit sketchy, they get yanked. Right. And it's just this back and forth. So it's ultimately going to work like 100%. That's the situation when it comes to the national team gym, but that let them face that pressure in the national team gym. Right. Let them be the guys. Like, if you're going to be the starting opposite for your national team, for Italy, for a team who wants to win their first ever gold medal in 4 years, you should be on your team too.
Maybe, but I don't know what the federation can realistically step in and do about it. I kind of like the way that it is. I think one of those guys, if one of them wants to be the guy on the national team, show it. You have a whole season to show that you're better than your most direct competitor who's on your team, who's going to be on your team for country. That's my take on it anyway. The only other game I wanted to talk about was Grotazzolina upsetting Milano. I didn't watch it as well. I was in Hawaii. Dusan Petkovic, 29.
Yeah, I mean, classic Dusan Petkovic, Matt.
Yeah, and it looks like classic Ferry Ragers with no support kind of match for Milano, maybe.
Yeah, I watched that a little bit of the match, but I don't know. I can't really remember it, so I don't really want to sit here and just go over.
Sam. So going to be a good couple weekends in the SuperLega. 3 weeks left. A lot of drama. This weekend, Cisterna Grotazzolina is must watch. That's massive. Piacenza Verona is massive. Those are the two games that jump out the most. Padova Modena definitely has some stakes, but those previous two games I think will have the most juice. One Saturday, one Sunday, which helps.
Yeah, for sure, buds.
All right. Before ever we jump to CEV, because there's a lot in the CEV Champions League and otherwise. While we're talking about the SuperLega, while we're talking about the SuperLega, a very special "Where's Daddy" segment for you all today, boys and girls. If you're unfamiliar, this is our hero, Daddy Stankovic. He plays for Modena. He's the best. I have his jersey behind me on the wall. You keep an eye out during the show, because I like to hide Daddy Stankovic somewhere in the middle of one of our assets. So if you find him, you get a chance to play the Where's Daddy game, and you comment the timestamp of where he shows up, and you get a shout out on the following week's show. So 2 weeks ago, Eczacıbaşı beat Fenerbahçe, and I had the pleasure of hiding Daddy in the Eczacıbaşı Tiger, not very conspicuously very conspicuously.
Not inconspicuously.
Right, thank you. On this graphic, Bassi Lassie, who runs the Spicy Veebs Instagram account, found him first. Daddy and the Tiger. So yeah, it's very fun for me to hide Daddy Stankovic, and we had the revelation over last summer that this segment has a lot more traction, has a lot more legs than we thought. Everett, that came true again over the weekend. Did you see this? This is Marco Pedrashinen's Instagram story. Lube played Modena, and the two of them took a photo together, and Marco Pedrashin posted on Instagram saying, "Photo with Big Daddy at 9x9 volleyball."
That is so awesome. I mean,
unbelievable.
Rob, you weren't there for it, but after the last day of Vienna, Ottawa last year, and of course this is kind of when everything had come out, they had called me over to the table, and I had a chat
guys,
with,
right?
I had a chat with Prushanin, and Antanasievich was there, and all of them were there, and they were laughing at it. I definitely made sure they knew that this was your thing, because they were getting a little bit of creepy vibes from it. But yeah, no, they were thankful, and that's you just like I saw that, and I was doing some other things that were like not so fun, and it made me really happy.
Yeah, it made me happy too. This was on Sunday. That was nice to see. So shout out to both Serbian middle blockers, two of the greatest of all time, and shout out to Daddy. Keep an eye out for him in this show. He will show up somewhere, but make sure you put it in the main YouTube comment section when you find him. Don't put it in the live chat.
Nope.
All right, Everett. CEV time. Champions League playoffs. That's where we got to start. We can start on the women's side because they played the first leg of the playoffs. They call it the playoff round. It's like the kind of the play into the quarterfinals. There isn't that much here. A couple of the games were quite expected. Milonza donged a German team called Schwerin. Budowlani Łódź, who's from Poland, donged a Serbian team. Those things are completely expected. But we had a little bit of history. I think this might be the longest set in Champions League history. 45-43.
I don't know. I don't have access to
45-43 is insane.
I don't have access to those kind of stats.
I don't either, and apparently neither does the CEV. Otherwise, I think we would have heard about it. But like 45-43, Rzeszów over Stuttgart, which is like the most competitive series in this round. 45-43 is insane. It's like 2 full sets of volleyball. It's incredible.
Yeah, that is actually pretty nuts when you think about it. Nice win for Rzeszów, though. I was expecting this. I was watching the scores of this one. I didn't really watch it at all, and I was hoping that Stuttgart was going to be able to push it back just to send it to 5 potentially. You know,
Sabrina de Jesus Machado, a player I have not heard of before, plays opposite for Rzeszów. 33 points, 28 for 63, 3 blocks, 2 aces.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically 5 sets of work in a 4-set match. But still, 33 is 33.
Are we expecting any, like, I think we're probably going chalk on this.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
Stuttgart, are they going to be able to force a golden set in Rzeszów? No, not at all.
Probably not. On the road after losing 45-43 in a set at home, like having to win 3-0 or 3-1, like I don't see it. I think it's chalk in all 3 of these series. And it's a bummer because like we're about to get to some fun stuff, but like Scandicci versus Budowlani Łódź.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, yeah. Let's
even
first
Conegliano versus Rzeszów, which like they played in pools, like Rzeszów was competitive against them, but like even that, like that's a full
Fenerbahçe is going to be fun. Eczacıbaşı, Milonza would also be fun. But before we get there, the round 2, the away matches, the second leg is going to be going down next weekend for all of these. There's one of them is going to be on the Tuesday on the 18th. That's going to be Łódź against Tent, and then the other 2 are going to be on the Thursday. Schwerin and Rzeszów against Stuttgart. Now let's jump over to the men's side, Rob, where we kind of had a little bit of drama at the end. Not really. The only really drama is Fenerbahçe just like crashing out the way that they did. They go out, they pick up Engapeth from Poitiers, they match his salary.
They picked up Jeff Jendrick today.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Dude, there has been we need to talk about it in the also I wanted to mention this before. This is a complete aside, but the PlusLiga has approached the FIVB and is pushing them to implement transfer windows where you couldn't make transfers until May 15th. We're almost a real sport. If they pass this, we might be a real sport, Rob.
Is that true?
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
That would be
exactly what we've been asking for.
Amazing.
Oh.
But scratch that.
Please.
It has been a bit of an arms race a little bit recently in the Turkish league, both for this year, picking up like last minute guys, and for next year. So it's kind of funny to see Fenerbahçe crash out that the way that they have it at the end of the pool, and you get the old man team of Olympiacos, led by Tragica and my boy Gord Perrin and Antanasievich and Gord Perrin, moving on to take on Saint Nazaire. Saint Nazaire, who
what
is
a
like
stupid Champions League playoff series that is.
Saint
Nazaire's not even in the playoffs in the LMB.
They're 11th in the LMB, and here they are. So yeah, you've got some, and then on the other one, you got Lüneburg versus Berlin, which like we know how that one's going to go. Like,
it's sad. I love Lüneburg. We all know exactly how that's going to go. They're going to get an overtime in one of the sets. They're going to choke. Berlin's going to win. That Berlin has a mental block against all the other German teams, similar to Conegliano in Italy, honestly. Like, other teams put themselves in positions to beat Berlin in Germany, and they just can't do it. I hope that Lüneburg proves me wrong. Lüneburg, Gage Worsley, Michael Wright, Xander Kaczynski, prove me wrong. I don't think you can beat Berlin. I don't think they have it mentally.
Ooh. Dev, clip that out. Send it to the out of system, boys.
Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Start some
Please.
beef.
Please prove me wrong. I don't think they can do it.
Yeah, I mean,
and then Halkbank versus Milano is kind of fun, though. I'm kind of into that series.
Actually, all these games are going down. Yeah, I actually really like the Halkbank versus Milano. I think that one's going to be really spicy, especially once you get like that's the one to watch. That one's is actually going to be an early one, going down at 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. All three matches are tomorrow. 11 a.m. for Halkbank Milano.
Oh, that's 9 a.m. Eastern.
Sorry.
It's even earlier.
No.
Yeah, it's 8 a.m. my time tomorrow.
No, it's at 1700.
1700 is 5 p.m. CET.
Yeah, which is 11 a.m.
Yeah, it is. I don't know why that's wrong on Flash Score. Maybe they'll fix that. Yeah,
Flash Score does that sometimes.
All three of these games tomorrow. Saint Nazaire Olympiacos is it's such a weird series, but the other two I like.
I like Saint Nazaire and Olympiacos. Honestly, I might just plug into all of these.
Well, join the Discord. We'll be talking about them. Speaking of CEV, there are a couple other things to bring up. The CEV Cup is starting to get like a little bit interesting. So, like after the Champions League pool play is over and the playoffs are set, the four third place teams in each tournament that didn't make it out drop down to the CEV Cup, and so then you get these like quarterfinals. We have 8 teams who are usually decently good, and on the men's side, the teams actually are pretty good top to bottom. I mean, Trentino played Chaumont today and beat him in 4. Like, that's not a bad series. Fenerbahçe versus Wasovia is kind of a fun series, like the Fabian Žižka revenge game. Ljubljana versus Ziraat Bank is going to be a beatdown. Like, Ziraat Bank is really good. And then Rousselare versus Tours from France, I kind of like. So that, for whatever that's worth, the CEV Cup, like those quarterfinals are this week. And then the women's CEV Cup, those quarterfinals started last week. And the only notable result there is that it was a pretty bad week for Türkiye, for Turkish teams. THY got beat by Bielsko-Biała from Poland. And then in Challenge Cup, Galatasaray got kind of humiliated by Chieri. So those like middle of the pack, above average Turkish teams did not show up super well in European competition, but that's also going on underneath everything in Champions League.
All right. I have not looked at the cup one little bit, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. Last but not least, a reminder that the Champions League format for the finals has changed a little bit this year. Instead of just like the one super finals match where you play the men's final and the women's final in the same event on the same day, they're going back to kind of the olden days from like when I was growing up getting into Champions League, where they have a Final Four, which is very fun. And I'm actually excited about this. And they just announced the dates that are confirmed for this like last week. So the women's Final Four, it'll be like the 2 semis on May 3rd, then a third place match and a final on May 4th. So 4 matches in 2 days. It's going to be a lot. Similar for the men 2 weeks later, May 17th and 18th. What we don't know is where these are going to be. I expect we should learn that very soon.
Italy or Poland or Turkey. Probably just Italy or Turkey.
For both.
For both. Yeah.
Yeah. So keep that in mind. That is on the horizon. That once you get down to the semifinals, it will no longer be home and away. It'll no longer be a 2-match series in the semifinals. It's just like a miniature 4-team bracket, neutral site, semifinals and on starting this year.
Was there any years, Rob, where they did the Final Fours, but with both genders?
Not that I remember. Those are the years when Zenit Kazan was always winning, when they would go to that Final Four and win. And I don't ever remember that being shared with the women. But I don't know that for sure.
Yeah. By the way, on the note of Champions League, I didn't ever even touch Champions League fantasy this year. But I did see, because they posted kind of some of the leaders. Pixie, saw you on some of those leaderboards. Chemi, saw him on some of the leaderboards too. So love seeing the Discord out there dominating the Champions League fantasy.
Yeah, nice work. I know our guy Jemmy Rodman's hair in the Discord set up some Volleyball Source community pools for fantasy CV earlier this year, which I appreciate. I've been playing Predictor, which is just the one where you just pick the winners and the scores, because I either don't understand or disagree with some of how they score the actual fantasy games, but it is a fun little interactive, engaging thing that the CV put out this season. So keep an eye on that. We've got links in it to the Discord, but I'm sure it's already probably too late to join if you haven't already. But yeah, that's been kind of fun. Fantasy volleyball would be cool if mastered. I'll put that out there, and I'll leave it at that. I have lots of thoughts on this. Lots of thoughts. All right. Anything else, CV? No. Can we move on?
Keep her moving.
Poland.
Bologna.
Yeah.
Bologna.
We're not going to go through every match here, but we missed 2 full weeks, and there were some bangers. A couple bangers.
Yeah, most definitely. Lots of small little movements in and around this, and most notably, I think, a few, there's those early season teams, Rob, that really surprised everyone. We're talking about Lublin and Norvid. Both of those teams have kind of been falling as of late. Norvid, they're expecting to get a little bit of a boost into their lineup with getting Queen Isaacson back a little bit surprisingly 2 weeks ago against Resovia, or 2 matches ago against Resovia. Unfortunately, they weren't going to be able to pull it through, and then they lost to Katowice.
Yeah,
this past weekend, which was
that's Robin Hood. That's stealing points from the good teams and donating them to the bad teams.
That's exactly what that is. So Norvid falling there, they're going to be playing in the Polish Cup in a couple of weeks' times, but they're now down to 8th. Same thing with Lublin, a team that started the year really, really good. And you know what, Rob, they haven't beat a team ahead of them in the standings since October 23rd or something. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Warszawa. And the only team, and the team that they beat at the time was Zaksa, who had a terrible start to the season, was not ahead of them at the standings. Right. So it doesn't even kind of count. Right. Warszawa was the team that ended that run for them, and they really haven't been able to get on there. They've really banked on that 8-0 start to the season, and they're starting to fall down there. But on the other,
it makes a little bit of sense for Lublin to me, because I watched the 2 games that we need to talk about of theirs since the last show. Was they lost in 5 to Zaksa, which honestly probably should have been a 4-setter. Zaksa was up huge in the 4th and kind of blew it, and then Lublin got reverse swept by Warszawa.
Yes,
they were up 2-0. They had, I was watching this game. I think they were down 23-24 in the 3rd, had a perfect pass, and Komenda inexplicably set Kevin Sasak 2 horrible balls in a row to lose the set, and they ended up getting reverse swept. So sure, good teams. Warszawa and Zaksa are both good. Zaksa has since leapfrogged over Lublin to the standings, but I've got some issues with Lublin being a little fragile. They are relying way too much on Wilfredo Leon's serving heroics to keep them in games. And Leon is serving like he was serving 10 years ago playing for Zenit Kazan. He is ripping the cover off the ball now.
He's been the best server in the league by far. It's not
probably on the planet. He's been that good. But they can't figure out second outside hitter. They've been playing Mikołaj Savitsky because Twinstra hasn't been good enough. Finn McCarthy hasn't been seeing a lot of time in the middle. That combo hasn't been as good as it was earlier in the year. Sasak is middle of the pack as far as league opposites go. Definitely not that sparkle that we saw earlier in the season. Maybe that's just teams figuring them out. I definitely think there's some of that to it, but you can't, if you're Lublin and you want to get to the semifinals of the league playoffs for the first time ever, relying only on Wilfredo Leon's serve, even though he's one of the best ever to do that, isn't sustainable. You got to figure something else out.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, Rob, when you look at this team, they're not. Like, there was some really nice pieces, maybe overextending themselves early on, like mostly within Komenda and Sasek, maybe a little bit Benny Trinsta. But when you look at like into the numbers, he's actually been quite a good passer for this team this year, and he could be a little bit better offensively, but his passing numbers have actually been decent. So it's still like, I still like the way and the progression that this Lublin team is making. However, I just don't think that they have the horses to really, they don't have the horses. And also, like we've talked about it so much in this episode, they don't have that institutional experience at taking a long run into a PlusLiga into
that
a PlusLiga
100% matters.
Right? Whereas on the flip side, you have a Warsaw team, and like it's even different for guys like Leon, who's new to the PlusLiga, like a guy like Grozdanov or McCarthy, who are new to the PlusLiga. And the PlusLiga does have a bit of a different rhythm than the SuperLega. You play
more matches.
You play more matches. You play more matches like during the middle of the week. So like to me, I think that this is just maybe Lublin setting down. And like I think in both cases for Norvid and Lublin, I think they're maybe coming down to earth just a little bit.
Maybe a little bit, but another team that really made a big move up this week that I was very impressed by was Skra Belchatov, taking down JW at the top of the league standings and doing it in 4. Definitely like their defining win of the year, and now they are firmly in playoff position in 7th, and like look kind of good doing it, surprisingly.
Dude, Amin has had a really, really good season.
Yeah,
Amin has been consistently one of the best attackers all year long, and you love to see it because he just wasn't that great at Verona the net last year. And I mean, we know how much of a dumpster fire Verona is in terms of their rosters and who they put on the court and all of those things.
Stoogery.
Yeah. But like he has really, like, this is the highest I've thought about of Amin since like the 2022 VNL.
Was that VNL when he broke out? Yeah,
exactly. So,
and you threw a little bit of shade at Miran Kujundžić earlier, talking about Serbia's built-up program, but he dropped a masterclass in this game.
Not shade. Is he at Rakhmozic's level?
Oh no, definitely not.
Good. There we go. That's what I said.
22 points on 20 for 34 and 52% efficiency against the best team in the league. Pretty damn sweet. It's a pretty sweet match.
Yeah.
I like Kujundžić. I think he's a baller. Even Peric was decently good in this game and was not a total reception liability. So good for Skra. Definitely the best match they've played all year. On the JW side, I didn't get to watch this game, but it looks like a big hole at second outside hitter. And wow, they even got a good Kaczmarek game, which hasn't been a super consistent thing this year, and still couldn't figure it out in this match. I give the credit to Skra in personally.
No, and I once again, like, I think that's just how good and how interesting the PlusLiga is this year, right? And I'm going to say something that may be a little blasphemous given my track record and in terms of things that I've said in the past, but I kind of like how many matches the PlusLiga plays, right? Because it gives a little bit more variability, right? It gives it, when you're packing in a few more matches, a little bit of fatigue comes in, like a little bit of that up and down comes in. Like that's I've been thinking about it a lot. What's up, Victor PT from Toronto? Where are you at? I'm in Toronto. But like I've thought about that, like in North American sports, you get that variability because of the fatigue factor and because of the sample size, and because that, like, when you play 82 games in the season, you're going to have some off nights comparatively to like 20 games in a season. I think it's good.
It's definitely good for the entertainment product because you get a little bit of that chaos when you have more matches, but it's definitely not as good for the athletes, I don't think you're contradicting yourself at all. I mean, the reason why we've been against so many games is from the perspective of the athletes and how we in volleyball run our athletes into the ground. But we, the volleyball consumer, for a league like this, it is way more fun when chaos happens and when things are unpredictable and when there's more games, and that leads to exactly like you said, that is fun for the viewer for sure.
Yeah, without it, I mean, it's been so much fun watching the PlusLiga this year, right? Like
it's been incredible.
It's been great. So yeah, like just love to see it. Is there any other matches that you want to chat about here?
Nissa beating Suwałki in 5 popped up to me. I didn't watch the game, but like I saw 17-15 in the 5th, and I was certainly interested, especially as Nissa tries to stay out of relegation position. So that was pretty cool. Let's see what happened here statistically.
I mean, if we didn't watch it, we could just mention it. Like,
yeah,
there's no need to break down statistically break down a game.
Michał Gheorghe 21. That's all I'm looking at.
Yeah. All right. Anything else in the PlusLiga?
Polish Cup, the quarterfinals are a week from today.
Yes.
So we might be able to talk about that on next week's show. Yeah, the Polish Cup is late, man. I mean, the quarterfinals are next week, and then the final is like the second week of April, which is crazy. That's like right before the league playoffs. So just like keep that on your radar, like Polish Cup next week.
Jump right into the playoffs. I actually don't mind that.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it either. PlusLiga this week, big week as always. Zawiercie versus Skra. Heat check for Skra, maybe. Norwid versus Warszawa. Maybe Robin Hood, the good direction, potentially. JW versus Suwałki, get right game. Lublin versus Benzin, get right game. Past that, I don't know. Did you watch Quinn Isaacson play for Norwid? By the way, I saw he was playing with a bunch of his broken fingers taped together. Did you see,
I didn't. I didn't.
The ball was coming out of his hands.
I didn't get a chance to watch the match, and I should have gone back. I will afterwards.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested in watching that match on what is that Friday, just to see like how a setter responds to a finger injury, like how he can physically set the ball with his fingers taped together. I guess is. It would take a while to get used to. I can't imagine. That would be so weird trying to set a ball with 3 of my fingers taped together.
I honestly think that Norwid might have rushed him back a little bit, because what I was hearing from my internal sources, which are pretty quality, was that he was nowhere near to coming back, and that it was going to be maybe a little bit longer. And then ultimately he showed up out of nowhere against Resovia, and just looking at the numbers and just looking at it, I'm going to have to go in and maybe volumetrics it just so I can just like pin it in on him and really see. But just looking at the numbers, it would tend to say that he's not 100%. But like, that's you're making your first run ever into the Polish Cup. Like you're making a potential run. Like you got to, like, once again, like a few weeks ago, they were in 6th and they were even higher than that. Now they're down into 8th. Right. And they're only 4 points ahead of Suwałki. So,
welcome to the PlusLiga. It's pretty cutthroat, like we've said all year. All right, let's move on. This is the segment where we appease our voracious Turkish fan base. Congratulations, Turkish fans. We're talking about you. THY beat Eczacıbaşı in a 3-dong. Now, this is legitimately interesting. I'm making a joke about how you all complain so much when we don't talk about your domestic league, but like it matters when the good teams play each other, which, by the way, Fenerbahçe beat Vakıfbank. It matters when the good teams play each other and when the good teams lose. And THY, after getting like randomly clapped around by a Polish team in CEV Cup, they bounced back and they beat Eczacıbaşı in a sweep. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, I won't say I watched the game. I'm pulling up some numbers right now.
Berkay, I don't want you to get disheartened. Please continue tagging me when these matches are going on in the Discord, because it's at least in my thought process now. Honestly, and this is my biggest fucking issue with Discord, is that the amount of fucking times, right, I get the notification. That like, hey, you have got a notification. Someone has tagged you.
You open it up and you can't find it.
And again, it doesn't even put me at the comment. It doesn't even put me at what's happening now. It puts me somewhere in the middle.
Totally with you there. It drives me
somewhere in the middle. So the amount of times that Berkay has been like, hey, you should watch, like, hey, this is a good match to go back and watch. And then I've gone to go do that, and I just get so frustrated with fucking Discord. I mean, I love you, but I hate you at the same time. So that's honestly, and as an ADHD person, I do that and I just immediately forget. It's just like it was in my hand and the thought is gone.
Yeah, Discord. I mean, you and I get tagged in the Discord a lot, and I also struggle with when that happens, like actually finding the message where it was, especially like if y'all are watching games and I'm asleep and I wake up to a bunch of notifications, like it is a nightmare. Anyway, THY, good for you. The story to me about, I mean, this is classic Türkiye women's volleyball, is the inconsistent roller coaster play of the Turkish outside hitters, right? Tuba Ivigin, formerly Tuba Shinolu of THY, terrible against Bielsko Biała in CV Cup, incredible against Eczacıbaşı, right? 17 points, total bounce back game. Dara Jebigiolu for Vakifbank was similar in a couple games where she was quite bad. Like Hande Baladin at Eczacıbaşı, incredibly inconsistent. They cannot get consistent play out of Turkish left sides, which makes for some intrigue because you never know what you're going to get out of one of them. And that can single-handedly like flip a game. So like on the Eczacıbaşı side, you have Boskovic with only 8 points in a 3-set match, which is completely unacceptable. You have Baladin off the bench, who is really good. And then you have Catherine Plummer, who started and was terrible. So it's just like the roller coaster coin flip of everybody on both of these teams. You never know what you're going to get. And it just so happened that THY on a good day beat Eczacıbaşı on a bad day.
Honestly, the left side situation in the world right now, other than Gabi, is always crazy.
Gabi, Arina Fedorovtseva, and Li Ying past those three. Even Anna Cristina, you never really know what you're going to get out of her. Like, it's really interesting. Consistency is a big issue. It's a big issue. The other thing in Türkiye, and I really wish that I watched this game live. I did go back and catch a little bit of it after the fact. Did you hear about this like old school classic slugfest in the Efeler Ligi? Fenerbahçe takes down Galatasaray 18-16 in the fifth. Did you see some of these opposite numbers? Oh no. My goodness. All right, listen to this, boys and girls. Strap in. This is going to remind you of like an era of 15 years ago. Oh, yeah. Yeah, look at Everett's face. Look at it. Look at his face. We got a good old-fashioned opposite battle, boys and girls. Jean Patry of Galatasaray versus Kaan Gürbüz, the lefty, for Fenerbahçe. Head-to-head. Jean Patry, 42 points on 39 for 50 attacking, 7-4-0 efficiency, 2 blocks and an ace, in a losing effort because Kaan Gürbüz put up 44 on 42 for 58 attacking, 603 efficiency, 1 block, 1 ace. 86 points combined between those two opposites in like a slugfest, the likes of which I haven't seen in a decade. These are video game numbers.
Straight up. That is absolutely astonishing. Okay, Berkai, can you send me a DM with this link? Like, is it on Volumetrics actually? This one might be a Volumetrics game. Because holy shit, that is something else.
Crazy.
That is ridiculous. 2 dudes. I don't know if I've ever seen that. I legitimately don't know. I don't know if I have ever seen that.
I don't even know if that would have happened in the side out scoring era. Like, this is ridiculous.
No, and like I can tell you, Rob, when I was doing the research on like the Keda scoring at the Coppa Italia, dudes were not dropping numbers like they are now. Right? Like you were not scoring numbers as much in like the early 2000s and in the 2010s. Like that is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. That to me looks like a CCAA scoreline, where when you've got like 2 really good teams who just have like monster opposites, like both guys who should have gone into like top U Sport teams, but are maybe just like not academically inclined or like not that disciplined, so they end up going to the UCAA. Like that's Terrell Bramwell shit over there. Like that is absolutely crazy. And I already know that our dumbass community is going to make another damn fucking meme of my face there. But
worth it. This is a like facial reaction worthy
like
stat line. 42 and 44.
This is me playing FIFA 2001 with Paul Scholes. Like that's what this is. That's crazy. Yeah, I'm just yeah.
It's ridiculous. It is straight up video game numbers, and that is truly unbelievable. And I really want to go back and watch this whole game, because 42. Like, what would it be like to feel like Jean Patry right now? You drop 42. Not only do you drop 42, 740 efficiency, 39 for 50 with 2 errors, and you lose the match. Like, what the hell is the rest of Galatasaray doing? Like, dude, well, I mean, this is kind of the answer. They had to bring Jiri Kovar off the bench in the 5th set. That's what the rest of Galatasaray was doing. The weed man himself. That's OG Volleyball Source Discord stuff. Like the original weed smoker in the volleyball world, Jiri Kovar.
Yeah. Before me, anyways.
42 and 44.
That's ridiculous. That is nuts. That is outstanding. That's
crazy.
Yeah, that is nuts.
Yeah, obviously had to bring that up. That is scoring the likes of which we very rarely have seen. Okay.
All right.
Do we have anything else in all of Europe, Everett? Because
No.
we have a serious gear shift over to North America for a little while here.
Let's go to let's get to stateside, because there's been so much happening stateside, Rob. And I'm almost starting to wonder if it'd be worth it to have 2 shows, one for Europe, one for North America, with how much is going on right now.
First and foremost, we're going to start talking about the NCAA. Now, this is, you might be saying, what the hell are you doing? It's February. Why are you talking about the NCAA? A couple major reasons. There's some serious coaching news on both the men's and the women's side. First and foremost, John Cook, the legendary head coach for the University of Nebraska, retired a little bit out of nowhere.
Yeah.
His reasoning for retirement makes all the sense in the world. But the timing of it is a bit of a head scratcher, especially because it was within a couple weeks of the transfer portal closing. If you're going to retire as a head coach and you want to set your program up for success in the future, which any coach does, and which Cook obviously does because he's succeeded by Danny Busboom Kelly, who just took Louisville to a national title game and played at Nebraska. So, like, Nebraska's in very capable hands. But wouldn't you want to be able to plan fully for the future, given, like, while the transfer portal is open, if you're going to make the announcement that you're retiring?
Well, like, I think that's exactly why they waited until, like, the transfer portal was closed to be able to announce his retirement. Right?
No, like, I would think that, sure, you don't want your own players to leave with you, but you need to be able to be flexible. But, like,
the transfer portal reopens for 30 days if there's a coaching change.
I didn't know that. Okay, in that case, then Nebraska has a lot more flexibility, and so does Florida, because Florida saw the retirement of Mary Wise, who's one of the greatest coaches of all time, that I don't think really gets talked about that much. 34 years at the head of Florida volleyball. She actually played for Purdue back in the day, which is a cool,
I didn't know that.
Cool little bit of history. But congratulations to Mary Wise on a similarly unbelievable career. But she retires. But the fact that opens the transfer portal for those programs with their coaches leaving, that gives them a lot more flexibility. And it also kind of screws the rest of the country, because now, like, their players can get plucked away by Florida and Nebraska in theory. I don't know.
But it's especially too because, like, you have Louisville's head coach DBK heading to Nebraska. Louisville in their end, like, they're not going in with the merry-go-round. They're just upgrading Dan Meshke.
Yeah, they promoted Dan Meshke, who totally deserves it, by the way. Congrats to him.
I don't know him, but he's really active on socials, and I know that, and I know people who speak very highly of him. So that's as far as I can go. So yeah, there's just been a lot of movement right now in the NCAA, and it's been really interesting. I've been seeing some interesting conspiracy theories about John Cook. I've seen some people say that maybe he's going to go to start coaching in pro ball. I've seen a few different things, but it was a bit of an interesting. You know, you would think with someone of his legacy deserves maybe a bit more of a send-off, of almost like a Coach K type, as opposed to just nobody will ever conduct their own retirement tour greater than Coach K. And I mean that in a bad way, because that was obnoxious, but I agree with you. John Cook deserved more of a send-off, even though his last match that he coached was a little bit bitter.
Nebraska bringing in Danny Busboom Kelly is a no-brainer, and maybe it's not the last we've heard from John Cook, because there's obviously a lot of volleyball, a lot of pro volleyball going on in the state of Nebraska, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The last piece of NCAA coaching news that I wanted to bring up segues us, connects the men's and the women's sides. This sucks. I will put this out there right now. This sucks.
100%.
I hate this. This sucks. Grand Canyon University's men's program has been completely built up and brought to prominence and brought to a Final Four last year by this man, Matt Worley. Matt Worley commands so much respect within volleyball. He has done an unbelievable job at Grand Canyon, a school that nobody in the country heard of until their program popped up about 10 years ago. They are a perennial top 10 team. Like I said, they went to the Final Four last year on the men's side because of Matt Worley. Matt Worley got poached in the middle of the men's season and left his team in the middle of the men's season to take an assistant job on the women's side at Kansas. Kansas is a good program. Kansas is not a Final Four caliber program, and they're taking a great, nationally important and esteemed coach from the men's side in the middle of the season to be an assistant. This is bullshit. Terrible for men's volleyball. I do not understand the contractual circumstances around which Matt Worley would even consider leaving his team, a program that he built,
money,
to take a women's coaching job in the middle of the season. There's no way an assistant job at Kansas can pay so much more than the head job at Grand Canyon that he leaves in the middle of the year. There's no way it pays that much more.
First and foremost, is it as an assistant position or an associate? Assistant. Okay.
I don't know assistant or associate head coach, but like,
okay.
for example,
that is a big difference.
It's a big difference, but like Eric Sullivan is a good example. Eric Sullivan was the associate head coach at Texas, right?
Yeah.
He left to become the head coach of the women's national team. His salary at Texas was public record. He was making like 140,000 USD a year. There is no way Matt Worley, as the head coach of Grand Canyon, wasn't making at least close to that. Grand Canyon is a private university. You can't look up that salary. There is no way Kansas can pay him that much more that it makes it worth it to leave in the middle of the year. To go do what? Recruit? Go for like spring ball?
But also,
leave his team in the middle of the season, man.
I get it, but I think it also just shows where men's volleyball is at in the U.S. right now, right? Is that the reality is that people know that the cash cow and that the money and all of the opportunities are in the women's game, right? And I can point out to a good friend of mine, like someone I really respect as a coach who's made that transition from the men to the women, of course, in a bit of a different situation. But I fully agree with you on this, that this is not a good look. And if you are if you're an AD worth any salt, you're going to look at this guy and question that, and question the loyalty to the team, question to the loyalty to the program that you built. Right? Like, it's not only like you're just coming in, but this is, and to be able to just dump that, is a lot. Ozzy Tragic is saying associate head coach and offensive coordinator. So, there's that. Definitely an interesting scenario. I obviously don't know about it.
A brutal blow for NCAA men's volleyball, which is having a phenomenal season. NCAA men's volleyball is killing it this season, despite the best efforts or lack thereof of the NCAA themselves, because they clearly don't give a shit. The NCAA this season has been legitimately awesome. The number of high quality media and content people producing NCAA men's content right now is all time high and is legitimately incredible. And I'm so like excited about it and happy to see it. Like, everywhere you look is young, talented people creating good stuff from good volleyball games, and it's fantastic. And the last couple of weeks, the NCAA men's has been really, really compelling. It's like conference season's about to start. There've been a bunch of really good games. like first and foremost, right as I was leaving for Hawaii, University of Hawaii went to BYU. I played 2 matches at BYU. It was the Keone theme revenge games. At least they would have been if BYU had defended the Smith Fieldhouse, but they didn't. They went 0-2. First match, 5-setter, 22-20.
Yeah, but guess what, Rob?
What?
No one knows who won that game. You know why? Because of that one clip of Keone's absolute massive
Facial.
slam.
Huge.
No,
The stuff block.
The stuff block.
The stuff
that
block
one-on-one
is completely
stuff
ridiculous.
block. And like it's crazy that there's a million angles of it, but everyone in the world thinks that BYU won that series just because of that one play.
Yeah, it was Christian Chitritsky, the Bulgarian freshman opposite for Hawaii, that got straight up clamped, and then he got facial later in the game by Thiem. But Hawaii won the match. Then they beat him again in 4 a couple nights later. So like that series was insane, and like the Smith Fieldhouse BYU crowd is incredible, and that was great atmosphere. Then Hawaii goes back home. And then my dumbass rolls into the arena and gets to watch them play a game against Stanford last Wednesday, which went 16-14 in the 5th. And Hawaii won. I was there. Very, very fun. It was a Wednesday night game, and there were 6,000 people in the Stan Sheriff Center. Incredible. Like that, even like outside, waiting in line to get into the match at Hawaii, there was like hundreds of people waiting to get into the match, chanting, singing the Hawaii University fight song. Like it was like I walked up to it and I told my wife right away, like I'm gonna keep talking this entire game about how incredible this volleyball culture is and how everywhere else in the country needs this. And that was absolutely the case. Huge compliments to Hawaii men's volleyball culture. And that game that they played on Wednesday was really fun. Then a couple nights later, Stanford comes back and beats Hawaii in 4. And it snapped like, I can't remember how many games in a row Hawaii had won at home. It was something in the 30s. It was a long, long streak. But Stanford came in and beat them. And like, we're giving them like I can't hear you celebrations to the crowd after the win. It was awesome. Awesome. Really fun. And then the last one I wanted to bring up was Long Beach State UCLA. That was Friday. Simeon Nikolov is a freak of nature.
We need to talk about this because right now, like Saturday morning, I found myself in a position that I don't think I've ever found myself for volleyball, where I woke up, knew that I'd been out with my friends on Friday night, knew that that game was going on, and immediately went to TikTok and Instagram because I knew that there would be just so many clips, and I was not wrong. Moni Nikolov right now is a phenomenon. And I mean, over on the coaches podcast with Matt and Ariel Houlihan and the other guy that I always forget his name.
Chad Gordon.
Chad Gordon,
one of my longtime
who we met, who you introduced me when we went down to Austin. They talked about like who has the bigger impact right now, Harper Murray against Moni Nikolov. And I think that both sides are right, because like for sure Ariel was right that Harper Murray's impact in the States is massive, but what Moni Nikolov is doing on the international level is absolutely incredible. The attention that he's bringing. I heard that I was hearing that for that UCLA Long Beach match, which was sold out in the period. Sold out. I was hearing that tickets were going for over $1,000. This is NCAA men's volleyball. This shit doesn't happen, right? And you bet your ass that Pauley Pavilion is going to be packed too tomorrow, because everyone wants to watch Moni Nikolov go off. And guess what? He leads them in scoring. As the setter, he leads them in scoring with 14 points.
It's disgusting, dude. He's playing a different sport than these dudes. And like, these are the best young players in the United States. And this is an 18-year-old from Bulgaria. And he's playing a different sport than they are. It's unbelievable. And like the effect that you're talking about of actual star power, of like where you and I, Everett, are like as plugged in and as knowledgeable volleyball fans as it gets. But I'm totally with you. I think you nailed it. After every Long Beach game that I don't get to watch, I'm like, what did Nikolov do this game? Like, what? I'm looking at my phone, like, what did he do this game? The superstar power is unmatched, and I can't remember there ever being an NCAA men's volleyball player that has this draw ever.
Like even when his brother was the player of the year and was
Right.
lighting up the league, it wasn't anything like that. And like we've seen his brother do fantastic things in the Italian league and international and stuff. But this is because he's playing the game in such a unique way. Like he's playing the game with safeties off and is just going for it. And you know what? Like the arms race is ready. There's already rumors that he signed with Lokomotiv, and his dad's going out and being like, no, there's clubs in Italy and in Poland that want him too. Like, you know, like the top clubs in the world are going after Moni Nikolov right now. Because he plays
for
this
next
game.
season. This is not
for next season.
In the middle of the year.
Yeah. So yeah, like it has been incredible to watch. And especially too, like we saw it earlier this year too when he played at Lewis that like they sold out that game. And now wherever he goes, content creators, and we talked about it earlier, how there's all these young, fantastic content creators popping up, especially across the United States.
So many good ones.
There's like, I know content creators who are trying to figure out like where they're going to fly to go shoot him. Right? Like it is absolutely incredible. And you 100% love to see it.
Here's the thing. You mentioned that he's getting a lot of contract offers for next year. Obviously, I mean, his brother did the same thing. Now that it is the NIL era and he can get paid much more directly than...
No, he can't. He's international.
Well, there are plenty of ways around that. Like the university's NIL funds can't pay him, but lots of other people can.
No, he can't. You cannot take money if you're an international. Like, trust me on this. I know because I like
Zach Edey did it for Purdue. He made $1 million a year in NIL. Like it
really?
It's not as direct, but it can happen and does. It can and does happen.
Okay, interesting.
I want selfishly for Semyon Nikolov to stay at Long Beach one more year, and I think that for his own brand, sure, you would be missing out on whatever 1 year's worth of contract is in Italy, Poland, wherever he goes. For his own brand, and he can talk to his brother about this, he will never, ever again get the number of eyeballs that he is getting this year playing at Long Beach State.
But that's why I think it's best if he leaves after this season. Because especially if they win this year, what more does he have to do? Right? Like what more does he have to do? If he goes out,
go to Poland and waste away setting on a fringe playoff team where nobody gives a shit.
If Lokomotiv's going after him, and you like once again, like his dad, like it's like he isn't coming into a situation where he's going to get fucked around. Right?
His dad is a legend, like, and has a lot of
who's that Hawai'i setter that went and backed up like at Lube? Like, come on.
Oh, James Shaw.
No.
Or Jakob Tella, the Norwegian from a couple years ago.
Shaw went and started at Padova first before he was on Perugia. I think it was.
Yeah,
but regardless, right. Like, no, Moni Nikolov is the number one. Like, this is our Wemby, right? He's not going to go to Slepsk. You know, this isn't like it's not the same as Josh Chuaniga. I'm sorry. Like
he's way better than any of those players. But like
he is going to go like I would see like a Milano picking it up, or even if you're a Lube, like, come on, Bonifonte, yeah, you've been fantastic, but like you would 100% like big clubs are gonna go after this guy. So as I said, I think if you're Moni Nikolov, you do one and done in the NCAA, because there's only so much that you can do in year two. If he wins this year, if he's player of the year, MVP, and they win a championship, then leave.
He's gonna be player of the year.
Okay, then yeah, exactly.
Just like his brother was, but his brother failed to win a national championship. Then he went overseas. The thing is that I think being a setter is a little bit different. Clubs in Europe are not going to allow him to play the way he does professionally that he does right now. That's part of the best part about the eyeballs that he's getting in the NCAA is that because he is the best volleyball player in all phases by so much that Alan Knipe is giving him a leash of infinite length, saying like, go make this your playground, do the craziest stuff you can imagine.
Exactly. He has
a superstar. That is not going to happen in the pros. That is not going to happen in the pros.
You're going to win in the pros either. Right? Like I'm sorry, like the NCAA in a lot of ways is a Mickey Mouse league, right?
Of course it is.
Right. So
much better than everyone else.
100%. Exactly. Right. So no, like I don't see any benefit to him. Like I see skill regression, and like the fact that this many teams, like there's no way that he stays in the NCAA next year. Not a chance. Right. Like if you have no Lokomotiv going after him, not a chance. Not a chance.
Money being one thing, what do you want for lifestyle? Novosibirsk, Russia, and Siberia? playing in front of, I mean, I'm sure their crowds are good. We've heard very good things about that franchise. They treat their players really well. I mean, you're never going to get any eyeballs outside of Russia playing there. Or do you want to be the number one celebrity on campus in Long Beach, California, and have all the eyeballs and all of American volleyball on you in this market?
But
it's up to him
like,
to decide.
once again, I've seen it with other players before, that like once you start dominating people lesser than you, it's not interesting. Right? Like they're like it won't be interesting. Like think about it. If they bring back, because like they'll be able to bring back essentially everyone. If they bring back like Nikolov, like no one will. It will not have the same effect as this year. I guarantee that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. It's not the impact that his teammates having. It's the individual plays that he is making from the setter position. That is the most crazy part about all this.
Won't be next, and then people will, because it won't be new next year, and everyone will know that he's playing in the sandbox when he should be in the gym actually training. Right? Everyone will be telling him that he's wasting his time.
Then
like that
would be the stupidest thing that anybody can do.
He will be wasting his time. He'll be 100% wasting his time. Right?
Yeah, I don't agree.
The dude is in play right now. No, I mean, like, I know you don't agree, but like that's the point of the show. But like the dude is in play right now. He has nothing standing against him. Right? There's nothing making him better right now. He looks bored out there in a lot of ways, and like just having fun. He does not look bored.
He looks like he's having fun, and that is
okay.
That
you're
is
right, but like he's having fun because of the shit that he gets to do. Right?
Yeah,
like
that's fun. I'm having fun watching him have fun. That's the best part.
No, you're just biased because you want to watch him.
Of course, I want to watch him. I said that from the beginning of this conversation.
Yeah,
I'm biased. I want to watch him.
There's no reason for him to stay. It would be detrimental to his career if he stayed.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think it would be incredibly beneficial to his long-term star power if he stayed. I think the opportunities for his personal brand are so much better in the United States than being the setter on Piacenza,
it's the same.
for
No,
example.
it's the same as being a one and done in the NBA. Right? It's the same as being.
That's the era of
missing
out on the opportunity cost of an NBA salary. That's not the case anymore. You can get paid in college now.
But he won't get paid. Like, are you telling me because he's going to be making $500,000 a year next year?
Not a chance in hell.
Yes, he will be.
There's no way his brother even makes that much. There's most of the Italian SuperLega doesn't make $500,000 a year. There's no way in the universe Moni Nikolov is going to go overseas to $500,000.
He is going to be making 6 figures easily.
Fine. Do you have any idea how many rich people there are that are Long Beach State alums who will write him that check one time to play one more year?
$500,000. No, not a chance. Not a chance. So, yeah, like he's not being challenged. So,
no, he's not. I agree with you there. He's way better than everyone else.
Yeah. But it's crazy to watch. It is absolutely. But like into that conversation, was it last show that we had? Because Matt Houlihan and them, once again, we're just like, I'm just poaching everything from them because every time I seem to be online, every time the coaches podcast or corner, whatever it is, comes online, and I'm always like one of the first like 10 views on it. But I love it. How he talked about how there should be a foreigner limit,
which there should,
which you brought it up. Like if you look at that Long Beach team, I brought it up last time, like Varga, Hrstanovic, both Canadian, Stepanis is Cypriot. Like they have a
Bulgarian middle and the Bulgarian setter. Like they have an American middle, and then they do a 2 libero thing, both of whom are American. Like they effectively have 2 Americans in their starting lineup. That's not good for American volleyball development. It is very good for the NCAA men's volleyball as an entertainment product. What Semyon Nikolov is doing right now.
100%.
Yeah. And it's like legitimately electrifying. They play UCLA again tomorrow at UCLA.
Tomorrow, Rob, is a massive day of volleyball.
Banger day.
Champions League going on. You've got another round of Milano versus Conegliano, and you've got UCLA, and there's a PVF match tomorrow night too.
Sweet. On that subject, you want to do PVF for League One next?
What do you want to like? I watched a shit ton of PVF, and I'm
take it away for PVF. Catch me up.
A dick lot about PVF, and I'm.
I will give you your flowers. The PVF coverage from the Volleyball World USA Instagram has been tremendous.
Thank you.
Very, very good. It is keeping me engaged, interested. That's all you, Everett Delorme. Great work.
No. It's not all me. Alex
Mostly you.
him.
Oh yeah, shout
Alex.
out. Alex is an amazing worker. He's
Alex
incredible.
is Alex. You got to give him so many of the flowers. Like, I don't make it look good. I just tell him my ideas and how I want it to look, and then we go back and forth on it a lot of times. So sometimes we argue on it, but that's how it comes up. But I mean, looking at the PVF over the past 2 weeks, the one big thing to notice is that team right there at the top of your standings, Vegas. They are on a 4-game winning streak. The cardiac thrill, as we like to call
cardiac thrill, is electric. Like, that's a fantastic.
Well, Rob, they four of their 7 matches they won in 5, and 3 of those 4 5-setters have been reverse sweeps.
Yeah, isn't it? They keep playing Indy and they keep reverse sweeping them. It just like keeps happening in that match.
No, not with Indy. Actually, last weekend when they beat Atlanta, it was their first ever win over Atlanta as a franchise. And people were giving me some flack to say that they were in the basement, and I mean they were last year. For 8-16 total last year in PVF. So this year, only 1 win away from potentially equaling their win total. Just got a really deep roster. Like, Hannah Maddox leads them, but you've got Charity Looper from Louisville this year, made them run to finals. Cameron Hanna, of course, from Penn State. Alicia Gass-Childress, the absolute legend, is setting them, and it's a lot of her veteran presence that's moving there. And I think that they might have the best 3 middles in the league, with Berkeley Oblad, Lane Van Buskirk, and then Morgan Stout coming in off the bench. They've been outstanding. Omaha got a nice 2 wins this weekend, and they're on a nice little 3-game winning streak. Last year's defending champs has quite improved. Regan Cooper has really stepped up for them quite a bit. She's really just balanced out their offense, because before it was just all Brooke Noonviller, and now they're able to balance some things out. But for me, Orlando has to be one of the big teams too. They're also on a 3-game win streak. I mean, they turned around, and like Indy and Atlanta were 2 of the best teams in the league, picked up 2 massive wins against them. Natalie Foster set a PVF record with 6 aces in the win over Atlanta, and then the win over Indy. Abercrombie was just unreal. Yeah, Foster's a rookie too, and she's been ridiculous. But starting to see a few more things. Columbus finally picked up their first win of the season this past weekend against Grand Rapids, and I do like a few things on that Columbus team, but they just really don't have enough firepower, and I really don't see that. But same thing with San Diego, especially since like Kendra Dalkey hasn't been playing. They've been really struggling to score points. They're really good defensively, but they can't really do anything else. I think Grand Rapids is maybe a touch high right now, and I think that's from playing lots of matches against Columbus early. Like, I think they've already played like 3 matches against Columbus, and I think that's going to be able to even out. It's going to be an interesting race between like Atlanta, Indy, Orlando, Omaha, and Vegas. I think those are going to be the 5 top teams. You're starting to see that separation happen a little bit right now.
I'm with you on that. I like Atlanta's roster a lot better than Grand Rapids.
Yeah. So, I mean, Atlanta, especially recently, this team, they just need to get all of their hitters going at the same time. Before it was all Merritt Beeson, when Lee Edmond was struggling a little bit last year's MVP, but as of recent, Edmond's been really picking it up, and Beeson has really been struggling. But you're also seeing Mia Tuaniga, who's taken over the reins of that offense, and that's really, really benefited them. She just brings so much life. So, yeah, I really think that when you look at, like, Vegas plays like a really super solid kind of game. Omaha is really steady. They play great defense. Orlando arguably has the best offense in the league, with Pornpoon from Thailand is their setter. So she just dishes butter. She's second in league right now for assists per set. And then you've got Brittany Abercrombie and Adora Anae on either pin, and they can just take so much volume. Whereas Indy's really good too all around. One of the best defensive teams in the league, but also one of the best offensive teams. So
yeah, Lekatora, my girl, she's awesome.
Dude, she is something else. Yeah, she's like crazy. Straight up like she's leading the league in points, and it's not even close. She's leading the like in points per set and in kills per set. Like, she's in the top 8 in the league for digs as well. And there's one other category that I posted today that I can't really remember off the top of my head. But yeah, she has been absolutely ridiculous. And whatever happens to this league moving forward, she has made a name for herself for sure.
Well said. Excellent recap, Everett. Thank you very much. Games this week starting tomorrow. running through the weekend. So keep an eye on that. Some of them are on Volleyball World TV. Some of them are many of them are free on VBTV. Like even if you don't have the subscription that we should all have, but
the only matches that aren't available are on Volleyball World TV are when they're on Fox or
CBS in the States,
like Fox or CBS. Yeah. Whenever it's on YouTube, it is always available on VBTV. You do have to register, but it is free upon registration to watch. However, you will not be able to watch the All-Star game.
That is a bummer. I like the All-Star game idea that's coming up in a couple weeks in India, I believe.
Yeah, I was like, hey, hey guys, like, do we need anyone at the All-Star game? Like, can I go?
Yeah,
like,
good point. I'll drive down there. That's a couple hours away.
And then they're like, no, we don't have it, so there's no point in covering it. I was like, oh, that makes sense.
Bummer. All right, that's it for the PVF. Interesting week for League One that I'm noticing. We'll talk about the week coming up in a minute. I am surprised, Everett, to see League One Atlanta at the top of the standings in this league. They lost their first match. They've won 6 in a row, and they've actually discovered some legitimate offense, which I'm definitely surprised by. But I watched their game the other night. They beat Salt Lake, then they beat Salt Lake, and then they beat Madison. So like 2 3-point. They don't do points in this league. They really should. 2 3-point wins last week for League One Atlanta, and I was legitimately impressed by both. Kelsey Cook, is playing pretty well. But the big thing is that they've switched away from Danielle Coutinho at opposite, and they're playing Tessa Grubbs over there. And she looks really good. I mean, she put up 25 against Salt Lake on 486 efficiency, which is gnarly. And she can actually terminate in and out of system. It's kind of what we were looking at in both these American leagues about things that will really differentiate teams is opposites that can score and that can terminate in and out of system, and it looks like Grubbs can do that, at least like in her first little run as kind of a starter. League One Omaha, pleasant surprise, probably the best blocking team in the league, which I didn't expect. They're sitting in second, and then we had the Texas battle, Everett, the one that you and I projected would be the final. Houston beat Austin 3-1 last week. Austin does not look great. Their ball control is not very good at all.
I picked Austin too, and they haven't been great. From the little that I've watched, I've been mostly like I literally have to watch PVF for my job. So, the little I've watched, Austin's not look great. No, I'm going to make an effort to watch more League One now.
Their first 2 contacts just aren't good enough. I wouldn't say their setting has been overwhelmingly good, and their reception is not good at all. And part of it is that Alessia Gennari just hasn't played, and nobody really knows like why or what she's up to or where she is. But like that's exactly the type of player, like that Italian L2 flavor of outside hitter experience, that like that's what they need, and I don't know where she is. So I don't know what's going on there. Maddie Skinner's putting up good numbers, but low efficiency. I still really think that they should switch her and Logan Eggleston's positions. I really want to see Skinner on the left and Eggleston on the right, and that's just not what they're doing right now. But Jordan Thompson's starting to play really well for Houston. 25 points on 317 efficiency last week, or this was in the win over Austin, so that was pretty nice. And then Madison's just not very good, man.
No,
they're just not very good. Their offense isn't good. They don't have very much going on in any phase. But interesting week for League One this week. They've put together this sort of like mid-season tournament thing, which I like.
Yeah, I do.
The Love Classic, they call it.
Yeah, I do wish that there was maybe a little bit of a different format, but you know what? I like that it's here regardless. So you have the 2 top teams, the 2 top seeds get a bid right to the semifinals. You're gonna have a quarterfinal, semifinals, and then on the finals, you actually have like a consolation match, a 3rd place match, and then also a championship match. So yeah, that is going to be very interesting there. Whoever gets to go down and play against Madison in the
so all 6 teams play. They're all getting together this weekend is in Kansas City, which is interesting because they don't have a team in Kansas City, but that is a decent volleyball pocket. Madison versus Houston, and then the winner plays Omaha is one side, and then Austin versus Salt Lake, and the winner plays Atlanta is the other side of the bracket. So this is fun. The teams are going to play 3 matches in 3 days, which I don't love for them, and I'm sure the athletes are probably not thrilled about that. So it'll be a bit of an attrition situation for who comes out and wins that tournament. But I like that they're getting all the teams in one place, and that I like the neutral site. I like the mid-season event. I like getting everybody together. I think it's cool, and I'm curious to see like how it comes across on the broadcast, and if there's like any extra layer of like media or storytelling or intrigue with all those teams being in the same place. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting too, because PVF has a full slate on Sunday. League One has a full slate on Sunday. Sunday's going to be a big day for volleyball as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
All three of I think League One has 3 games Sunday. I think it's all 3 of those placement games, first, third, and fifth. I'm pretty sure are all on Sunday. So yeah, big day of volleyball that day, and just a big week of volleyball in general. And you're in the right place. So I think that's a show.
I think that's it.
Right,
honestly, Rob, I think we need to like commend ourselves for doing all of that in under
Less than
2 hours.
I agree.
Because I looked at our show notes today and I was like, this may be a 3-hour show. Maybe not 3 hours, but like this might be in a 2.5 hour show. So yeah.
We did it.
Also, yes, thank you for answering Pixie in the chat. League One is not a Volleyball World entity, right? I can only post about Volleyball World entities. So
yep,
that's basically what it is.
Yeah, if leagues don't have an agreement with Volleyball World, that's why you don't see them.
Yeah,
on those platforms. It's pretty darn simple.
Yeah. Right.
Discord, join it. Best community in volleyball. Don't tag Everett and I unless you really have to, because we probably won't find your messages anyway.
No, please do. I disagree with that. If you don't want to, fine, then don't tag Rod, but tag me.
You can tag me if you want to.
Because
I don't like swimming through messages to find stuff.
No, but like at least like, and if it's something that I really want to go back on, then I will go back and message that person directly. Cool. Yeah,
join the Volleyball Source Discord. The link's in the description. It's the best online volleyball community in the world.
Just shoot me a straight DM on the Discord. Like if there's a good match going on, then DM me the link and be like, you should go back and watch that. Help me, guys, please.
Yeah, we got a lot of volleyball to watch too, just like you all do. So the Discord helps us just as much as it helps you be a part of the community.
Oh, I'm not anywhere now without the Discord.
Oh God, absolutely. I get so much out of there. It's incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
So thanks y'all for watching. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Peace.